Hi guys, welcome back to the Knit by Day podcast. This is our second episode since my hiatus. So 2 weeks later and we're already filming another episode. I would say that is a vast improvement from what happened the last time. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Deja. You can find me on Instagram at Knit by Day or over on Ravelry at Days Jam. Let's see. We have some finished objects. Okay, we have 1.5 finished objects, which is not much. Some works in progress, lots of new projects. A lot of my old projects kind of fell by the wayside as I cast on a bunch of new things, because sometimes that happens. It's fine. Before we get into the knitting, let's chat really briefly about the make-along that I just hosted. It was a year-long make-along, so it's been happening for quite a minute, but it just ended last month. So the make-along was on Ravelry and Instagram. It was called the Made with Intention Make-along 2021. The purpose of the make-along was to knit, make, crochet, spin, sew, whatever you do. Make something that is going to go really well in your wardrobe, that can be a staple, something that you're actually going to wear. Last year I was knitting all of the bright, funky things, and while they were really fun to knit, I really wasn't wearing them as much as I would have hoped, and so it kind of defeated the purpose in even making myself something. And so to hold myself accountable and kind of try to make more things with intention, I hosted this make-along. I just got up and did the random number generator and pulled a winner. The video is on Instagram for anybody who cares to actually see the video, but I will tell you that the winner was actually a friend of mine. Her name is Brooke. She is Plum Cottage Knits, both on Ravelry and Instagram if I'm correct. And she will get, I left it over here. She will get a free skein of hedgehog fibers. This is the Dove colorway, and it is in their sock yarn. I have a ranunculus out of this and I love it. I'm also going to gift her a pattern of her choosing over on Ravelry, and one of those knitting barber cords. I don't know if you have seen them yet, but essentially you just like attach it to your needles, pull it through, and it serves as a cord so that you can try on your knits. And it's a lot easier than going to find an extra long cord, slip it through, etc. So I ordered one for me and one for her. And yeah, that's the extent of our giveaway. I am really, really excited about that one. And then we can jump into knits, I guess, right? Yeah, I don't have anything else to talk about. So starting with finished objects, I told you I have one. I showed this to you on the last episode of the podcast. This is the Kindra Cowl. It features some lovely color work and a solid section, and I would love to try it on for you, but my mic is right here, so you would hear way too much static. It wouldn't be worth it to anybody. So I'll just tell you, it sits really close to the neck. It is gorgeous. It does have a little twist in it, and I actually think I over twisted mine, so there's a good chance that I'm gonna have to pick out some Kitchener stitch and fix that, because I think while I initially didn't think it would drive me nuts, it's probably gonna drive me a little bit nuts. This is my hand-dyed yarn. I had about 35 grams of each left, so it uses about 70% of the skein, which is good. And I like having little scraps of leftovers so that I can do scrappy socks or anything like that. But I think because I just started dyeing yarn this year and I am really excited about it, anytime I finish a project and I have leftover yarn using my yarn, I'm gonna save that and then knit a big squishy blanket with just my yarn. You know, we have probably 4 or 5 balls of yarn at this moment, and they're little 30-gram balls, but after a year, 2 years, might actually have a decent sized blanket out of it, but we'll have to see. That's about all there is to say about the Kindra Cowl that I have not already said in the last episode. It is by Whimsy North, if I did not mention that, and the pattern was released last Friday. So if you are itching to knit it, you can go ahead and cast it on as soon as today. Like I said, you just need 3 colors. You could even do 2 colors. And, you know, roughly 2 or 3 skeins of yarn. I think, oh, nope. This next finished object is going to push us right into works in progress. You'll see what I mean here in a second. So another project that I had shown on the last episode of the podcast was the Moonset Tee by Ozetta, and I went into how I didn't have enough cotton yarn to finish it at that time because I had bought the yarn without a project in mind, so I had no idea how much I needed. I ordered the backup skein. It got here and it was totally the wrong weight. I don't even know how it happened because I swear I ordered the same exact yarn, but I guess not. So this is what I was originally knitting with, and it is definitely fingering, maybe sport. And this is, like, you guys are gonna be able to tell the difference on screen, but this is definitely like what I would consider a DK weight yarn. So totally different weight. I tried to go ahead and add it in the project and knit anyway, and it just did not look great. So I am going to have to figure out. I went ahead and used the DK weight that I had just gotten in the mail and cast on a tank top, which I'll go ahead and show you actually. And this is called the Emma top by a designer whose name is escaping me, but it is knit in half by a designer whose name is escaping me. But it is knit in half brioche, which I had never heard of, but it is essentially you knit 1 row brioche and 1 regular ribbing. And so it gives you like this really interesting rib where the purl stitches are pretty far back and the knit stitches are far more pronounced. It is super squishy. I do enjoy this. I've had to rip back so many times because when your brain is hardwired for brioche, it is really, really hard to do half brioche. But now that I've knit 20 or so rounds, more if you count those that I've ripped out, I'm starting to get the hang of it. I'm starting to get used to that. So this will be a tank top. Fingers crossed that I have enough yarn. Otherwise I'm gonna have to order another skein, and I'm gonna end up with more and more of this yarn that I never wanted in the first place. Just trying to look for a project to get rid of it, and now I have tons of it. So yeah, just hoping that I can get through with 1 skein of it. I'm thinking in all likelihood I'll have to order another, but we're just gonna have to play it by ear. The finished object I was referring to, I knit with the lighter weight of this yarn, and that's just 2 little washcloths. This is a crochet pattern. It is free on Ravelry, but I cannot remember the name of it, so I'm going to have to just pop that down in the description box. It is really, really simple. It's essentially going back and forth between a single crochet and a double crochet, and then you go around and do the border. If it matters, I don't know that it does, but if it matters, I am using a 5mm hook, and that is H in the United States. I have about, because I am holding that yarn double, I don't have much left, and so hopefully I'll at least get to use all of this original skein of yarn. Have about that much left, and I would say this is enough for one more little washcloth. I am going to over dye these with some cotton dye that I have downstairs. I'm probably going to do like a dark blue, maybe an orange, anything that is not white, because that's not going to go well when I'm like washing my face after a long day. Makeup stains very easily, if you did not know. And that's it for any like finished objects, which I don't even consider the washcloths finished objects at this point. I think once I'm done with the third, they'll be a finished object, and for now they're just 3/4 of a finished object. But alas, moving on to whips. Another project you will have seen is the shawl I am working on designing. This is also knit out of my hand-dyed yarn, the 3 colors you see here. And yeah, this I've only really put in, I think the last episode of the podcast, I was maybe getting ready to join this red or had just joined it. So I've put in a few inches, not too much to write home about just yet. But after another couple of color repeats, I will be ready for shaping, which I am pretty excited about. I have never knit a kite shawl, much less designed one, so a little bit out of my comfort zone here. Don't quite know what I'm doing, but we're gonna play with it and see if we can't find a shape that I enjoy wearing. Worst case scenario, I don't want to talk about worst case scenario. Worst case scenario, I have to rip it out and figure something else out, but hopefully it won't come to that. I am kind of zooming today because I have some of my students coming over later for an end of the year party. We're gonna like play some games, eat some good food, and I want to make sure that I have enough time to set up. So if I'm chatting fast, skipping some details, I do apologize. The next episode will be a little bit more detail heavy. But so far you've seen most of these projects anyway. Moving on to some new things. I was pretty disappointed about having to rip out the moonset tee because I was really excited for like a really nice v-neck sweater top, and I think v-necks probably look the best on me, and so I was hoping to cast on another one. I didn't really have the yarn in my stash that I thought would accommodate that particular pattern really well, but I did get on Ravelry. I had a look and I saw that Jessie Maed Designs had a, I don't know how new it is, but it's a newer pattern to me. I hadn't seen it before, and that is the very v-neck Raglan. And oh, I'm in the middle of a row. That's okay. There isn't too much to show right now anyway. I am at this point just mostly doing Raglan shaping. But oops, this is currently being knit up in the poppy colorway, the poppy colorway from a Homespun house. This is on her DK weight merino base, and once again it is just so soft. Actually, on the last episode of the podcast I was asking about how yarn can be of the same fiber content and still be so much softer than another yarn. I was actually talking about Molly's soft sock base and how much softer it is than the other merino nylons I've knit with. And this is the same case. This is her, I think this is 100% superwash merino, but again, it is so much softer than other yarns. So I posed that question, and actually my friend Brooke popped in the comments and said it has to do with the way the yarn spun. Apparently when, I'm gonna butcher this explanation, but I did pin it to the other video. When you spin yarn based on how, I guess, loose or tight you're spinning it, the yarn has a different number of microns, and the more microns, the softer the yarn. Something like that. That's me butchering the science of it, but essentially, like, the way the yarn is spun can have a significant impact on how soft it is, even if it's the same fiber content as another yarn. They can be vastly different. So that's what's happening here. I am just about done with Raglans, and the Raglans are worked back and forth, so it's not even joined yet. I'm excited for the moment where I get to join it and knit, because that's always the best part after kind of doing some shaping for a while. When you get just rows and rows of stockinette, that's the sweet spot. So getting close and pretty excited about it. I love this color. It is bold enough that it can, like, it's bold enough that it's gonna, like, mix up my wardrobe, but not so bold that I'm not going to wear it. And that's also the sweet spot. That's what I'm going for. I want something that is unique, but something that I'm going to wear. Okay, I am going through my head of all the things I have shown you, thinking about what's left. I think I have one more new cast on, and that is it. This is one that I am really not gonna have much to show on just yet. This is a test knit. It is called the Maggie sweater. And essentially it is going to be a oversized sweater with some really pretty, like, lace detailing. This is going to be kind of floral when it's actually done. It looks like it might be massive on me right now, but that's okay. I do have gauge, so I'm just going to go with it. And if it's too big for me, I will gift it to someone who likes a much, much larger sweater. Let's see, what am I knitting this out of? This is actually some berry yarn that I had in my dye stash, paired with some of this Marisol. Super soft, lovely yarn. It reminds me of a mohair, but it is not. It is 64% viscose and 36% baby alpaca. So it is super soft, and because of that viscose, it has a really, really nice, pretty sheen to it. And I went ahead and just caked it up with that bare fingering weight yarn that I had in my stash. So I think this is going to result in a really gorgeous drapey sweater, and I wish I had more of that to show you right now, but like I said, I really just started. The unique thing about this sweater is it actually starts at the mid back. So I said looks like it's going to be ginormous, but it actually might end up just a little oversized. I don't know. So it starts at the mid back, you knit up, and then you'll pick up and knit down. Really interesting construction that I have never done before, and I'm excited to see how I like it, how it turns out. I'm not sure why it's knit like that. Like if there's a reason why you would knit up and then knit down, but either way, cool technique, and I'm ready to try it. Life updates. We're out of knitting to talk about, so we can move on to the life updates. And I don't have any. Things in Kansas move pretty much the same week to week. We've had some tornadoes, which is terrifying for me and exciting for my husband, who wants to go storm chase. we are moving into peak tornado season. It'll be our first tornado season. So that's exciting in a bad way. And next month we will be flying back home so that Christian can walk for his graduation. He will receive his PhD in clinical psychology, and I am only a little bit proud. And we'll have a weekend with family that's going to be a little bit of a whirlwind because we have obviously all of our family in town and we're only there for 3 or 4 days. So it's going to be a ton of socializing, a ton of running around trying to see everyone, and then we will be back home exhausted, and he will have about 2 months left of his internship here. So exciting stuff. He's so close to being done and we are really excited about it. Other than that, nada, much of the same. But I'm going to go ahead and hop off and go get ready for game night tonight, and I will hopefully see you guys soon. I think that in order to really have enough content for you guys, I'm gonna try to film monthly, at the least, unless I have a lot done, but I'm thinking monthly because every 2 weeks just isn't enough time for me to get significant progress on all of my works in progress. So with that, I will see you guys in a month. Bye. Happy knitting.